Hey, and happy Wednesday. It is coffee and conversation time with Jennifer, Simplicity Coach, and I want to remind you that organizing isn't complicated, time is sacred, and money is a renewable resource. And I'm coming at you today all in a different uniform. I'm helping Raymond set up an estate sale, so pardon my appearance and pardon the car. But today's topic, it's one that I'm pretty passionate about, and it's how to be more green, or how to reduce our footprint on this earth. And when we think about the little triangle, the green triangle, somewhere along the way we replace the words to make it recycle, 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 when it's actually reduce, reuse, recycle. Recycle is always last. And I see this with organizing clients. I've seen this before where, like for example, in Mecklenburg County and in Gaston County, the recycle rules have changed quite a bit. Well, they actually haven't changed, but they are really implementing more of the recycle rules in town. So glass isn't taken at the curbside, paper, all of these things that they're not taking. And I'll have clients that'll say, well, what am I supposed to do with my things? Well, one, those things weren't supposed to go in the curbside recycle anyways. I think they call them the popular 5, the things that can go in there. But it's not so much about why we can't recycle or what's wrong with our recycling program, so much as what are we trying to recycle and how can we, one, reduce and then reuse and then recycle. Recycle, again, is always last. So reducing, for example, you know, if you're overbuying, let's talk about trash. So we have, you know, roll out curbside trash pickup, but we maybe fill up our trash can once a week. Well, probably every other week. And most of our stuff is either recyclable or it's compostable. And I'm really particular about what we buy and in what form that we buy it in. And it's no different than when you're looking at your trash. So if your trash can is always full, and maybe it's overflowing every week, then it's a really good opportunity to look at that and say, what am I throwing away? Why is it always so full? Is it food scraps? Food scraps are compostable. Is it plastic? You know, plastic can be recycled, but it can only be recycled 1 or 2 times. Glass, however, can be recycled indefinitely. So you could recycle glass, they'll press it, melt it, I don't know what they do with it, make something else, make a new glass jar, you recycle it, and the process keeps going and going. But when we start to look at what are we getting rid of, like what are we throwing away, I always say our stuff tells a story, and it's really up to us as to whether or not we want to listen to the story and we want to learn from it. So what is going in the curbside trash pickup? What's going in your trash bin? If it's full, then that's probably a sign that you're consuming too much or you're throwing away too much. And that means, in Jennifer's opinion, that means your footprint is probably pretty high. You're costing the planet quite a bit. We don't need more things to go to the dump. And if you've never been to the dump, then I highly recommend going this weekend and taking a field trip and take your whole family. Go and see how bad the trash situation is. And because I think we put it in the bin, in the trash bin, and we roll it out and we're like, oh, well, it goes somewhere. Yeah, well, it's not going in the places that we think it's going. And those systems aren't very green either. So really looking at what are you throwing away? What could you maybe compost? And composting doesn't have to be complicated. You know, I teach the language of less, simplification. Where have we overcomplicated and where can we simplify? Simplify, simplify, simplify. So let's simplify trash. Let's simplify recycling. And if you are throwing away food scraps and you live maybe not in a neighborhood, but if you live and you have some space out in like a flower bed, you can just throw your food scraps out. They don't have to be in a big fancy compost bin. And compost bins aren't really expensive and they're not really hard to make if you wanted to do that. But food is not supposed to go in a trash bag, for example, because when it's contained, it doesn't break down the same as if you just threw it out, say, in the woods or in your flower bed. It's the methane gases and it gets stuck in the bag and it doesn't have anywhere to go. And speaking of bags, you can't put your recycling things in a trash bag. And that seems sort of simple, like, oh, I of course know that, but I have clients who do this and, I have to remind them, well, this isn't recyclable. And what it does is it contaminates the whole truck. And it's one of the reasons why recycling is such a problem, because people don't know how to recycle properly. But I'm a lot less interested in talking about how to recycle properly and more interested in talking about how we can reduce, then reuse, and then recycle. So if you are buying things in glass, for example, you can reuse those for homemade lotions or mouthwash or candles if you wanted to make your own candles. You will probably get overrun if you cook a lot at home. We do pretty much buy everything in glass if we can. So let's say we're at the store and we want to buy organic peanut butter. And this organic peanut butter is $3.50 and it's the Harris Teeter brand, but it comes in plastic. And then this brand is, say, $6, but it comes in glass with a steel lid, and it's also organic. I actually always go for the glass. I want to buy organic. I'm interested in the product first, but I'm always interested in the way in which it comes. Think about the grocery store. So this is sort of frustrating for me when there's no education or communicating at, say, like a Harris Teeter or a Publix about the choice in bags. So no one really thinks twice about putting things in plastic bags. And if you ever watch the grocery person bagging stuff, they'll put like 2 things in a plastic bag and then they'll put 2 more and 2 more, and it's so wasteful. And plastic bags are one of the hardest things to recycle. Yes, they have a recycling bin at the grocery store, but they're very difficult to recycle over and over again. Paper is not a great of a choice either, because we're basically tearing down trees. Yes, you can recycle the paper, but it's not good for the planet. So bring your own bags. Another option, if you tend to leave the bags, you just forget them in the car, then ask them to put your groceries back in your cart, and then when you get to the car, put them in your reusable bags. We have just this big tote bag, and I just have different reusable bags, and I'll carry it in the store, but I will not, hey Sarah, I will not take a bag from the store, and I'll just carry the stuff out in my arms if I have to. But we really need to think twice before grabbing bags for produce. You don't need it. Also, maybe not buying bagged produce, because again, that bag is really hard to recycle and it's not very compostable. So when you're at the store, think about buying what I call bulk or loose produce. And if it's in a bag, see if maybe you can just buy like onions and potatoes and apples, or common things that come in bags. Just buy the apples without having to also consume the bag. This is really, it's so simple and it's so important, but we all shop a lot at grocery stores, and it matters every day. Like you vote every day when you eat, and you vote every day at the grocery store with your own reusable bags, saying no to the produce bags, saying no to just the plastic or the paper, and then really rethinking what you're buying and then how it's being packaged. Because it's not recycle, recycle, recycle. It's reduce, reuse, recycle. And the planet really needs us to think differently here. It's not like, oh, wake up, you're asleep. That's not what this is about. But it is about rethinking, what are you throwing away? Look in your trash container. If it's always full, that's telling a story. And then seeing if maybe you can do a little bit better there. If you have to go to a recycle center because you can't put it in a recycle bin, then it's no big deal. I go maybe once a month. I just have a box, and when it's full, I take a little road trip, 10 minutes down the street to the recycle center. You know, if you're like, oh, well, man, I'm real busy and I don't have time to do that, then that's a problem too. Then that means you have a cluttered calendar. But I'll save that conversation for another day. So Something that I'm really passionate about is being green, not putting more things in the dump because we don't need more trash. We don't need more things to be recycled. The Poor Recycling Program is really overrun and stressed out. It's cheaper to make glass than it is to recycle it, for example. So when we start to vote differently and when we start to think differently about our choices, and the little ones matter. When you're going to the store and you get the tomatoes, they don't need to go in a bag. They can go in the cart. If you think the cart's got germs all over it, go home and wash it. You're not gonna die. We've been doing it for 5 years. So I'm still here, and I promise you'll be fine. But that's my little topic for today. And this week is, it's not recycle, but it's reduce, reuse, recycle. So I hope you all have a great week, and I'll catch you next week, Wednesday at 3 o'clock for Coffee and Conversation with Jennifer. Bye!